Hi friends, we're early because there's some ridiculous hype train nonsense going on. So I wanted to show you what people's dice situations look like. So Stamper, you've given one to Tom and one to V. Okay, I haven't got Tom on the screen for this overlay, unfortunately, but that gives him a third bonus dice, and he's still got a test die. Hold on to that, I suppose. And Mara then gains a bonus dice as well. Awesome, there we go. But that's what everyone else looks like. Miria's got a bunch, Faye's got a couple. I'm still not using mine because I'm dumb. But yeah, thank you so much for the hype train. That's super, super, super cool. Welcome back to our regular Thursday Game of Thrones Song of Ice and Fire role-playing campaign After the Fire. We are deep within its flames now, friends, as we're about to engage the siege of Ashford. But first, before we do, let's say hi to everybody, check out what's going on, and generally be nice to one another. Susie, I saw you yesterday. How's it going?
Yeah. Nothing has changed since yesterday. I'm very much the same. Thanks, Sam, for asking.
Cool. Hi, Millie.
Wow.
No.
Wow. No, that's fine. No, it's fine.
Well, what did you want to talk about?
No, it's fine. I'm done. We can go on. Hi, everyone. No, I don't have anything I want to talk about. I've just been belligerent and then, guilt trippy. I'm getting in the practice for later on. I got to lay on the guilt trip. Okay. All right. Cool. Thanks everyone for coming by. I'm just gonna fuck off. I know when I'm not wanted.
I'm just staring at it so that we get some juice later, because you're all gonna have to juice each other up. Wait, no, hang on.
Yeah, we will be really nice backstage. Be like, oh, I love you, Fred. Oh, it's all great. And now get ready for half an hour's time. It's like, you fuck. So
that's when I'll just cut. Shall I? Okay.
Yeah, it's our show at that point, Sam. You're not needed. You're fine.
And not yours. Yeah. Good. Okay. Oh, good.
Yeah.
Nice. Who's next on the overlay? Hi, Millie.
Hello.
What have you been up to?
What I just typed.
Oh,
what have I ever been up to?
You've been talking into a microphone.
I've been talking to microphone loads. I've been trying to get people to fix my internet because apparently 3 meg up and down is a thing that occurred on Monday just before a show, which is great fun.
Yeah, that's not a good speed in the year of our Lord 2021. No.
Not enough, but that appears to be fixed. Touch wood.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, I got a bow. I got 2 bows actually the other day, so I'm fully in character now. That was my Christmas present, sort of, to me and to Jay. We went out and got bows.
That's amazing.
Yay.
That's so cool.
It's just been December silly season where every audio company on the planet just goes, oh, Christmas is happening again. I wonder if we can find out what causes this every year. Oh, should have planned ahead. Oh, well, we need everything doing by now. So working across multiple time zones is fine. And I'm definitely not having a constant panic attack and no sleep.
Oh, no.
Please help me.
And thank you, Totem, for the 1,000 biddies. Let us know if it's a bonus. Let's do another 2 bonus dice. Don and V. There we go. Look at that. Thank you, Millie. Let's say hi to V then, as you've just got a bonus dice. How are you doing?
Hi. Thank you for the bonus dice. I will probably need them. Terrible things will happen. I'm good. I saw you 2 hours ago, Sam.
I know, but we have to put up this pretense. Yeah.
No, I'm good. Lots of things have happened. Dragomeet was over the weekend, so I was down with the Black Cat's crew doing that, and seeing people in the flesh realm was strange. I'm knocking things over, don't mind me. I just want to preface that Susie and I have already apologized to each other backstage. It's tradition that whenever Mara and Miriam meet, within 20 seconds, we're having a full-blown argument that makes it look like we actually hate each other, but we don't. So nobody be alarmed. I love Susie very much. Yeah, I'm excited.
Good.
And scared. Really scared.
Fair enough. It's that mechanical stress. We told you, bearing way, way down.
Shove it real deep down there and try to forget about it.
Oh my god. Yeah, I can't wait either. Can't wait. And the man with the army, Don, hello.
Hey. Oh, I'm good. It was a long fall, and I'm really looking forward to the winter. I have like a little bit more chill time in December than I usually do, but things have been going well, and I'm excited about today, and I feel really good about today. I feel really optimistic about it.
It's good to see you haven't broken your spirit yet.
One day, I hope by the end of the campaign I get there, but I'm not there yet.
Well, look, this is where they all reconcile. They, split the differences, and they're all good. And then, we beat the evil Targies, and everyone wins, right?
Yeah,
Definitely.
That's extra doubt.
Cool. Oh, dear me. Thank you, Millie. But yes, as V said, we were just at Dragon Meet last weekend, so thank you if you came to say hi. Special little shout out to friend of the channel, Cabe, who we saw. We had a really good time. Genuinely a convention that I actually enjoyed for once. I'm usually working them, and they're usually like by the end of the fourth day, I'm just like, I don't want to see literally another person the rest of my life. But this one was cool. It was just a day, and it was like I was saying to you earlier, it's like my home convention. It's where I started, and it's a nice, chill, kind of wholesome convention with lots of roleplay going on, lots of cool booths and people to meet and games to see and check out and stuff. So it was a really, really, really nice kind of entry into our first convention as Black Cats with stuff to sell. It was really, really exciting, and we did some sales too, so I was super, super happy with that. So yeah, that was it really. And I got a house party to host on Saturday, and I'm excited about that too, because I bought loads of makeup, I got a dress and shoes. It's gonna be great. It's gonna be nice. This is not gonna be nice. This is Game of Thrones. So without further ado, let's kick off then. And tonight, I want to start with Mara. Mara. Sorry, let me flick around with a stupid Roll20. With the lapping water of the Cockles Went to your south, your camp around Ashford is laid out with various tents, siege equipment, and the flags of many of your own house forces and different allies as well, from the Golden Centaur of the Caswells to the returning banners of Aubrey Ambrose from Highgarden, as well as being joined by the Meadows as well now, all thanks to the actions of the Bright Prince. In your hand, you clutch a letter that has been given to you by one of your men, by a page. It's a small missive, rolled up, as if rolled up around a raven's leg, and so taken off the bird. And this particular letter is sealed with a small black wax seal with the portcullis of House Ironwood.
Mara opens the letter. She recognizes she's seen, the Ironwood house sigil many, many times before, and probably curiously opens it. I imagine she's, in her tent. She's waiting, and she unfurls the letter to see who this could possibly be from.
Okay. Susie, you want to give us a read?
Lady Tarly, expect my arrival. I will be accompanied by a host led by Lord Harris Ball, Lord Paramount of the Reach and Warden of the South, as ordered by His Grace King Daemon II Blackfyre, King of the Andals, the Rhoynar, and the First Men, Lord of the Seven Kingdoms and Protector of the Realm. Prince Maekar is marching south and must be captured. Lady Miria Sand of Ironwood, the Blood Royal, Warden of the Stoneway.
I think she takes a minute reading this and rereading this. And there's a bit of her that's relieved. She doesn't know where Miria has been for probably since the tournament. And she knew a little bit from Ellery that Miria had gone somewhere. There's a bit of her that's pleased in some ways for Miria, and in other ways this letter makes her nervous. And I think she sits there just for a few minutes reading it over, wondering, can't quite put together the pieces of why Miria's calling herself Sand. Why? I mean, I assume that Mara would know of the Order of the Blood Royal from Oliver's storytelling days, probably.
Absolutely.
And so she has a lot of questions forming in her mind, but I think eventually, once she's kind of committed that letter to memory, she'll hand it over to one of her guards, or if the page who delivered it is still like waiting to be dismissed,
Sure.
and she'll ask for it to be taken straight to wherever Samuel is, because I imagine he's not here right now as she waits in her tent, and that he should see this.
Mm-hmm. No problem. And so we can assume that Samuel receives the news as well, receives that letter, and can look over it. Are you waiting for Lord Leo and this audience here in your tent, or are you intending to go out to where he is being kept?
She's waiting for him to be brought to her.
Okay. And so a moment later, he's brought to you in your private tent. A couple of your Tarly guards bringing him in by the arms, and he's shackled, his hands in front of him. And he stumbles into your tent. He looks a little better than how you were keeping him before. That's right. But the men are still keeping him chained whilst he is... Are you keeping him, and Don as well, I'll ask you, are you keeping him out of this cage now? How is he being treated now?
Right, yeah, so he is no longer in the cage. Samuel's committed to treating him better, feeding him better, keeping him clean and bathed somewhat regularly. So he would be kept in a heavily guarded tent, watched over and slept in and rotated through by Tarly Knights. So his security detail has increased, but he's no longer in a cage. And he's probably been given whatever they can in terms of something noble looking to wear, something closer to what he might have used to have worn.
Yeah, for sure.
It's still shackled.
Yeah. So in fairly plain colours, but noble garb, he stands in front of you, a little cleaner, and his hair combed through at least, and his kind of golden hair greying at the temples and receding slightly from his forehead, but combed back at least, a little longer than he's used to keeping it. He stands before you and rather crudely says to you, Lady Tarly.
And I think what Mara's been doing is she's been sitting there waiting before this letter arrived. She's had Heartsbane out across, I imagine there's a table in this room, and she's been kind of picking it up, still testing the strength of that wrist that's now, I imagine, as we kind of figured out in the other session, it's healed, but it's still quite weak. And I think that she's sitting there testing that blade, looking over it, kind of thinking about what happened. And when he walks in, she stands up and sheathes it and kind of rests it up against something behind her, like one of the trunks behind her on her side of the table. And she nods and greets him, my lord, and looks at the knights who have brought him in. Take those shackles off of him.
And he holds his hands up, and they do so, and he kind of straightens out his clothing, his doublet.
And she'll motion for him to sit at this table, and she'll turn her back for a second as she grabs a tray that's got some wine goblets on there and a pitcher, and pours him a cup and places it in front of him, looks at the guards and tells them that they can wait outside. As she sits down herself, but she doesn't pour herself a glass of wine.
And he eyes them suspiciously as they leave. But a moment later, he turns to you and he sits. But he doesn't go for the cup.
Have they been keeping you better?
Yes.
Have you heard what happened at Summerhall?
I have heard snippets. I saw what happened. The whole valley saw what happened.
Yes, they did. I'm not here to give you any flowery words. I'm here to tell you what happened. Because I hope that when you hear it, it might change your mind about the decisions that you've made. And like she's really clenching her jaw and trying to keep herself calm, and she can already feel that grief in her chest already as she starts talking about it, and it's probably really visible to Leo to see. Have you ever seen wildfire before? Apart from them?
I have once.
Were you close enough to smell it?
What I saw before didn't smell or look really anything like that. It was a mummer's trick, travelling show, come round to Highgarden when I was a child. They said they had wildfire, but it was nothing like that. Like fire's breath itself.
I rode past Summerhall as it burned. I could smell it. It's horrible. It gets in your throat. You can taste it. It's like it coats your tongue, and just smelling it burning, it's like it's choking you just from the smell. And she's like staring right at him as she describes this. They didn't just set the place on fire, Leo. They turned it into a maze. I saw it. They barricaded corridors, halls, funneling people through. They didn't just burn our men. The prince burned his own men too. Everybody in that place, regardless of what colors they were wearing, they burned. It's not a nice smell. Wildfire that's choking your lungs, and you can taste it, and it stays on your tongue. It took days for that taste to leave my mouth, and I wasn't even in there. But it wasn't just the men that they burned. How old's your son, Leo? 10? 11?
My firstborn son is 5. My secondborn son is but a year old.
My brother Wayland was about the age of your firstborn. Not that I ever saw much of him, because he was a ward of the Targaryens. You love your son. I don't doubt that. I saw how you tried to protect him at the wedding. I can respect that. If your son had been a ward of the Targaryens, sitting there at Summerhall, would you like to know what his fate would have been? Because they didn't just set that trap to burn men alive. They burned all the wards too. Did you hear those stories?
My lady, I am a ward here, in a way. Your prisoner.
You are.
Say my wife who I understand you have ransomed back to Highgarden. Say my son, being lord in my absence in some way, as young as he is, insists to Sir Gawain to march on you in order to recapture me, free me. At what point do you kill me, my lady? At what point do you kill me in order to stop them? Because this is what we are talking about. We are talking about fire and blood. And that...
I'm talking about children. Children. If it was your son in your place right now, your firstborn son, I wouldn't harm a hair on his head if you marched on us.
Then what use is he to you as a ward?
My brother was 5. And the Targaryens set a trap. They took all of the wards, bound them, hog-tied them, shoved rags in their mouth, and put them in a room with a trap made of wildfire. I've heard the description of what happened in that room more times than I care to admit. But could you imagine your 5-year-old son being dragged from his rooms by men that were supposed to protect him? The guards of the family that took him as a ward and swore he would be safe. 5 years old. Being bound by rope. Probably not told at all what was happening, and if he was, told he was going to die. 5. In the dais of the Great Hall. Sat there for who knows how long, hours, alone. Then hearing fighting. The sound of swords, the sound of battle. You know how frightening that is for a child. I do too. And then just when someone steps through the door, someone who doesn't look like the men that just tied you up and left you there alone and scared, in a room that smells like wildfire, the smell of it already choking your lungs. Then the entire place goes up in green flame, and you're 5. You've never seen green fire before, but it burns everything it touches, including you. And now you can see the green fire because it's burning you. It's melting through your clothing, melting into your flesh. And you can't breathe because the smell of it's choking you. The fire's choking you, the smoke is choking you, and your lungs are being burned from the inside out. Could you imagine your 5-year-old son dying, screaming in pain, having no idea what's happening and knowing that no one is able to save him? Because that's what they did, my lord. They didn't just execute wards, take their heads, clean deaths. They burned them alive, children alive. The child, might I point out, of Marcia Greenmont, who sits on their side in this war, who burns their own men. Could you do it? Could you burn the children of the lords that support you and the men that have sworn to protect you? Would you?
You a mother, my lady.
I very nearly was. Once.
Then you are in no position to lecture me about the ethics of murdering children. At this point, I do want to ask for a roll, though. So, as this is your audience, you can roll first, by all means. So please, yeah, roll me, well, whatever action you want to take.
I think for this, she's more trying to... She's not necessarily trying to scare him, but she's trying to get him to look at the bigger picture outside of this was a battle and this is war. Like, it's the idea of, like, we're talking about people who just burned children alive, forgetting that we're at war. Like, there is no place where that is okay. So
Yeah, no, exactly. Cool. Yeah, I mean, look, if you want to go on the offensive, roll me persuasion convince.
okay.
Check out your qualities as well. Just make sure you're factoring anything else in for that.
I get a bonus dice to persuasion tests, and then
Lovely. Yeah.
it's +1 for my charismatic.
Mm-hmm.
So 20.
20 is 2 degrees of success, and so your will rank times 2.
So that'll be 8.
Okay. I'm going to roll for his your replies, obviously. He is going to... Actually, this is where I need the cheat sheet now, and I haven't got it up.
There's a link in the Zoom chat, Sam.
Yeah, no worries. I tend to get the locally saved one for me. Yeah, oh, can't double click. There we go. Is that worth doing? No, probably not. Okay. Wait, that's his intrigue defense. All right.
I don't know if that's good or bad.
No, it's shit. For a Lord Paramount, it's shit. He is going to... Oh, I'm never going to hit that, am I? That is metagaming there, to be fair. Fuck it, I'm going to try it. Not that this will actually be
That's
worth
where Sam
it.
rolls fucking 6s again.
No, to be fair, I think I will actually just try and influence you as well. And he doesn't have any specialty dice in these, so I'm going to give myself a couple of bonus dice from my frame here. Because I think this is juicy enough to put some weight behind it as well. Oh, straight in there, by the way. Fucking hell. What a scene. Alright, let's do this.
Mara didn't come to play.
She did not. I'm enjoying it. Right. 14 against your intrigue defense.
Yes.
Okay. So is that one? Is that more? Is
My
that
intrigue
5 or
defense is
more?
9.
9. That's 2 degrees of success. Oh, all right. She's a bit of a glass cannon, Mara. I forgot about that.
She is. Yeah.
Then that is 6 composure damage. Remember to factor in your disposition rating.
Oh yes.
So figure out which disposition you have to him, and then absorb that amount of damage.
Okay.
Block that amount of damage. All right. Yeah. He said what he said. His last retort was, "You've no position lecturing me."
I think she takes a moment in that silence, because for her this is her tent and her camp, and she's really trying not to be goaded into arguing, because that's not what she wanted to do. And she just takes a minute and lets him sit.
What I wanted to add as well, as you let him do so, is that he finally looks at the cup, and having kind of landed that like blow in terms of the discussion, he actually goes to pick up the goblet, and with one smooth motion,
She just
drinks
watches him very plain-faced the
and
whole time.
put it down on the table, and as he does so, he stares at you.
You still didn't answer my question, my lord. Would you burn children?
No.
You don't have to agree that Blackfyre is everything that you would want in a king. But one of these two sides just burn children alive. For what? To prove a point. Not even the children of their enemies. Their own men. The children of the lords that support them.
The Targaryens have fought as children in the past. Targaryens, for them, this is not their first battle. their first conquest. This is not their first challenge for authority.
It's not.
They're
But
well
authority
versed in
should
this.
be challenged. Could you imagine if they'll do this to the children of the lords that support them? They'll do this to anybody.
And
the lords
with,
that support you.
and with what force? A few Tyroshi mercenaries who landed on the northern coast of Dawn intend to conquer the Seven Kingdoms. I've seen better rebellions discussed. Pissed in a brewery.
My lord, a large portion of the Reach supports King Daemon.
And a large
Probably
portion
larger.
of the Reach, I could assure you, supports King Daeron, the rightful king, the good.
The prince responsible for this is in line for the throne. The prince who would murder children of the lords that support him. How long do you think that they will support you if they're willing to burn their own men alive? The families of men that would support you. Marcia Greenmont supports you and they burned her children alive. What does that say about them? Your loyalty means nothing to them. Marcia Greenmont's loyalty meant nothing to them. They murdered her child all the same.
My loyalty to them has been proven time and again on the field of battle. Don't forget that.
I don't. But they have forgotten you.
I can assure
You really
they
think that
have
they would
not.
stop? How can you look any man in the eye that would pledge himself to you?
Easily, my lady. What is this? Why
What
am
would
I
you
here?
say to Marcia Greenmont that her child is dead despite the fact that she supports that family? They murdered her son. A ward they are supposed to protect when she supports them. They don't care, my lord. They don't care for your support when it suits them. They will burn you and your children and the families that support you too, to keep in power.
Because they are the dragons, which is why we stand behind them and not in their maw.
We stand behind them because we are afraid of fire and blood. Or we could stand in front of them and make sure that the Reach and its children never have to know fire and blood ever again. Is that what you would rather do? Feed the threat, allow it to continue? Because when the Reach hears about what happened here, that is what's going to happen. Fear. That their families are next, that their keeps are next, that wherever the prince shows up to look for more allies and men and armies, that he won't fight. He'll have them stand in their halls and burn for him.
King Daeron did not do this.
King Daeron
Prince-
isn't going to do a damn thing about this.
Prince Baelor did not do this.
You don't know that.
Did you
You
fight
don't know
Prince
if this
Baelor?
was the prince's idea, if this was ordered by the crown.
This has the Bright Prince's mark all over it. And
A prince that you
every
would one day see on the throne.
very doubtful. Every lord through the Seven Kingdoms knows that when a Targaryen is born, they flip a coin.
So you would leave the future of the realm in the hands of a coin flip. Just hope that the one that comes after Daeron isn't mad.
Prince Baelor is a good man. His father is a good man. I have every faith that that line, the
I've
line
met-
of succession, is in good hands.
Until when? How long does the luck last with the coin flip until it falls to the other side? And we have to see fire and blood all over again. Why even take that risk?
My lady, the realm and the Seven Kingdoms themselves are not made of single Targaryens making single decisions. When I return to
Tell that to
Highgarden,
Marcia Greenmont.
I will
The sun just burned.
I will entreat you. I will entreat my council to have you as a guest there, just for a few months, so that you can see what goes on and the decision making that has to be taken by a council of people at every step. Because a little fear, unfortunately, keeps people in line. And then a little reward goes a long way.
And how has that worked out so far for you? Many of the lords here didn't just rise up because they are tired of the Targaryens and their brutality, and tired of thinking about the possibility of the fire and blood in their future, but because of your leadership or lack thereof.
You really are not in a position to be lecturing me when you broke guest rights, captured and executed several lords of the Reach, and imprisoned me, dragging me through the dirt for months. I have shown nothing, no aggression towards you or Samwell, but you took it upon yourselves to instigate this rebellion within the Reach. Almost at the first hint of Blackfyre's landing.
Yes.
There they were, House Tarly.
Would you rather have had the Reach fighting in battles for months?
I should have ousted the House Root and Stem. But King Daemon the Good preached mercy, and so we were merciful. But you have me here in shackles, my lady, at a serious disadvantage. If I met Samwell Tarly on open ground, I can assure you I would be the one left breathing.
I'm sure you have had plenty of time to think about those scenarios, my lord. But I'm not here to argue with you.
As you say that, he eyes the blade of Heartsbane all the way down to its tip. Just for a moment, then looks back up at you.
She looks at the sword herself and has a moment of thinking. I'm not talking to you just about realm politics, my lord, and how good or not good the current king who sits the throne is. I'm talking to you about the bigger picture. One of these families would burn children alive. The children of the families that they swear to serve and protect. There is no honor in that. There's no honor in a lot of things that are done in war, but children. How could you tell anyone in the Reach that their children are safe when they do that? I'm not asking you to put aside your honor and decide that you want to back a new king for the sake of politics. I'm asking you to think bigger than that, the future of this realm, the future of the children, not just in the Reach, but everywhere else. All they will know is fire and blood, again and again, generation after generation, the way that they have ripped families apart.
And where is my place in your future? As a self-styled Samwell Tarly, not even head of his house, calls himself Lord Paramount of the Reach, Warden of the South.
Acting Lord Paramount of the Reach.
What is my place in your future?
What place would you want?
Lord Paramount of the Reach, Warden of the South, Protector of the Mander, exactly as my titles declare it.
Then declare yourself for King Daemon. Rally the rest of the Reach to your side. I'm sure he will be very grateful. You have ruled over the Reach for long enough. You know its people, you know its houses, you know its lords. I can't see how he would argue wanting to let you stay in that position with the amount of good faith you have with them. Back us. Stop there being any more bloodshed in the Reach so we can take the fight where it has to go. It's not about honor, but when the history books look back at this, do you want to be remembered as a man who would side with those that would murder children, betray the loyalties of the people that claim to serve them, murder the children of the people that build their armies and protect them and side with them, or be parts of the force that ends the reign of fire and blood?
Where is this Blackfyre bastard? Because he's not here in camp, is he?
No,
Neither
he's
is Bittersteel.
No, he is not. I understand that they are in Dawn.
And so what are your orders from your king?
I'm sure I am about to find out. My sister travels with Lord Harris Ball.
Really?
Yeah.
So you don't know.
You are acting like that's some kind of victory over me. I'm quite well aware of my position in this.
So you're not fighting a Blackfyre rebellion. You're fighting a rebellion. Samwell Tarly's pride.
We took the Reach. Or tried to.
You
So
took
when the rest of the force...
the Reach.
So that there wouldn't be fighting in the Reach. A small-scale civil war by the time the rest of the forces get here.
You took the Reach. As if my
Because-
picking up this sword and running you through would mean that I have defeated your army. I see it now. Take me back to my cell. I'm done. Take me back to the cage you had me in, even.
You're making a mistake.
And when fire and blood raids down on your house, I will remind you that you have made a mistake this day.
And when it rains down on yours, just the same.
Why don't you roll for me? Let's see if he actually, getting through to him or not.
Yeah, she's trying to make the point of like, you're not safe either. Like, I know I'm not safe, but you think you are, which is even worse. Like, it's her whole thing. Like, they will come for you when it suits them. So I guess she's going for another convince here.
Mhm.
I got a bonus dice in my window, right?
You have, yeah, you got 2.
Okay, I will use one of those then.
Sure thing.
On here. 21 with 2 6s.
Ooh.
So if
that
it's double, there'll be
Is
some crits.
21?
21.
It's not double. But it is 2 degrees of success still.
So that'd be another 8. Yeah, she's trying to push the point across of like, I know I'm not safe. You're not surprising. You haven't won any victory here by being like, oh, you don't have all of the picture. She's like, yeah, I'm well aware of that, but I know I'm not safe. You think you are.
Yeah.
And they're going to, the second that it suits them, they will throw you into the fire like they just did their men at Summer Hall and those wards.
6 is me, your entry defense.
No.
No. Okay. So yeah, he says then, after that exchange, picking back up on his point, we are done here, my lady.
She just looks at him disappointed, like deeply disappointed. I suppose we are. But they really will, my lord. As soon as it is convenient for them. Your loyalty and your service. They would throw it away and burn it in an instant if they thought it clamored them one small victory. Not just you, your children, your family, your house, your legacy. And those are the men that still pledge themselves to you. They will. Now, or in generations, they will.
I am counting on that. So that when the Reach rallies around behind their true Lord Paramount, you will see exactly what you're talking about.
I regret that you will too.
You forget that you didn't truly capture the entire Tyrell line when you took us captive at Horn Hill. And you will mark our house words. The line doesn't end with me, and we are always growing strong.
Yes, growing strong. But even the rose doesn't survive fire.
He stands. He gets up rather abruptly. And then he walks towards the flap of the tent, as if just feeling a little bit of freedom just for the first time. And just, you get that sense, there's a little daydream of, what if he just walked outside? Obviously he'd be stopped and stuff like that, but it might take a few seconds, maybe even a minute for people to realise. But he turns round towards you slowly and then just stands there, much as he did when he was in shackles, and just waits.
She just takes a long look at him. It's a look of, she's not even angry. She looks disappointed. It's a look of pity. Not pity at his situation, but pity based on what she said to him. And I think for a moment, just to see what he does, she picks up the sword on the table. She doesn't unsheath it or direct it at him. She just picks it up and kind of holds his gaze and then breaks it to rest it against something and calls her guards in. But she just waits to see what his reaction is. She just wants to take in that second that she's holding it, what his face does.
He gives you that steely look back, and it's the stillness of a night. Just being present in the moment and ready in case.
She puts it down, calls the guards back in. And she probably doesn't have to tell them that he needs to be shackled.
Yeah, he takes... You notice him take a breath out, and then he brushes his hair back, and then they grab one of his arms and they chain him back up. And then he turns around and he pauses, and the guards start pushing him out of the tent. But then he turns.
She'll hold her hand up so that they stop if it looks like he's got something to say.
He turns to you and just once more says, "Fire and blood."
And she looks at him with a look that isn't. She's not disagreeing with him, but she nods. Fire and blood. Come to us all.
And then he turns back and he starts walking out, and so the guards follow.
And I think it's like that's the moment that after he's gone, like that grief she's been holding in her chest, she lets it out again as she finally exhales properly and pours a glass of wine, and she's still sitting there. I imagine she maybe hasn't yet sent the letter to Marzia with all of the moving going on, trying to find a rider. And she goes over to the table where she's still got Willen's toy that sat on top of the letter and kind of picks it up and starts reading it over in her hand again while she sips that glass of wine and just waits. Probably waiting either for a time of day when it's to go and eat or for Samuel to get back or something, but that's how she spends it, just thinking over that conversation and disappointed that he can't see, at least in her point of view, that fire and blood isn't just going to rain down on this host, but on him eventually too, that he can't see that bigger picture.
Yeah, absolutely. Miria gets with a gaggle of infantry, some of your best boys, your cavalry crusaders, made up from the House Peak deserters, as well as a few, maybe a handful of your own knights, and then also camp followers that have begun to hear about Saharis and have been following you towards Ashford. You make across the countryside, and you can now see Ashford Meadow, and up further towards the north, the actual keep as well. A small castle, and triangular in shape, with these large curtain walls and with 3 round drum towers on each point. The town itself, just before Ashford Meadow, looks quite kind of shut up and kind of devoid of activity. And then soon, sure enough, camped out on Ashford Meadow, you can see the forces of House Tarly and their assorted banners, I guess. Here you see their banners all fluttering in the breeze as on the horizon towards the Stormlands, dark clouds are beginning to form, and you can hear the occasional crack of thunder in the distance. Then you can see a bunch of different banners, including the white and yellow of not Costain, Caswell. Yeah. You've got the Ashford banners there as well. Meadows is now a new addition to that. I'm trying to think of anyone else's. I actually made, I love my spreadsheets, a little cheat sheet for the armies that are knocking around. The butterflies, I want to say, of Mullendor, Merryweather and his cornucopia, still somewhat present here. Like I said, as well as Caswell and Tarly, but also now Meadows that have marched down from the north. And so at this distance, Harris holds up his horse and just kind of surveys the meadow down below and the hill you're on here, and takes a deep breath.
You've gathered quite the host.
Seems we're one amongst many here, and it's not as if we can march against them if we need to.
No. I did want to warn you before we go down there to be careful. I know that I have history with both Samuel and Mara, but they are dangerous people.
Well, let's hope a missive from His Grace can sway their pride.
I highly doubt it. But if things do go wrong, I want you to get out of there.
What will you do?
Would I have to?
And you see that kind of slightly absent look from him, that where he doesn't quite kind of like something, but doesn't kind of really want to speak out. Given how kind of valiant and kind of martial you've been since you guys met again. But he kicks his horse and begins to trot down the hill towards the Tarly camp, where, declaring himself, news is quickly brought to Samwell and Tamara. And Lady Faye, I'm sure, will hear as well that Sir Harris Ball, and declaring himself Lord Paramount of the Reach, is here and seeks an audience with you.
Sir Samwell would propose, before a big family reunion, riding out with a handful of his knights and Lord Caswell to meet with Lady Miria and Harris.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we can arrange that. Sure.
Without Mara or Faye being there.
Mm-hmm.
But if they tried to argue, he would listen.
Okay. I'm not going to do too much hot NPC on NPC action, so I'll back you up with Caswell and I'll back you up with Harris. But please, for the love of God, help me out.
Yeah.
No, Sam, you're going to talk to yourself for an hour.
No, it's fine. Okay, I'm going to have a really
Mm-hmm.
intense role play with Don, and I'm going to have a really intense role play with you, and then you can each take a turn. No, but yeah, no. Okay, cool. So absolutely. So yeah, they would agree to that, or Harris would agree to that at least. Susie, I don't know if you have any objections.
Oh yeah, Miria agrees. But she's got her own knights with her as well.
Mm-hmm. And so each with a small flank of knights. I guess and Harris's side too. The forces that Miria has managed to muster. You can even see from a distance, I think, as you start to ride up, Samuel, that they are like a bit of a mishmash. There are still some peak colours in there as well, but most of them have just gone with kind of leathers and furs and stuff over a chain, or even just the soft leathers that they've probably got as infantrymen. And so yeah, there's a kind of strange there's maybe a banner. They've managed to grab one banner from the Order of the Blood Royal, and that's like it. So there is a single ironwood banner that follows both Harris, although he's probably got one banner as well with him. So they've given the two banners are fluttering behind them. It looks properly
intentional, right? It looks properly intentional, and we've got our own little personal knights. They're holding our banners as if that was the plan the whole time, and it wasn't desperate. Lack of supplies.
Yeah, but I think from your stewardship and stuff, you can get a little bit of a sense of that. This is not like Harris Ball rocking up with the Blackfyre crew. This is Harris Ball and assortments, just rocking up
for a reason.
Yeah, but this is like the equivalent of like a quarter of your army has just kind of is over there in the distance.
So I think in juxtaposition, Samwell is wearing his armor that's been partially repaired. He's probably had to switch out pieces of plate. It's not as pretty as it used to be. He doesn't have his golden bear helm anymore because that melted. And so he's not wearing a helm currently on his head. He does have Heartsbane with him, and his knights carry the banners of not just, I want to say, and you can tell me no, I want to say not just the banners of the armies present in his host, but also since he sent those letters out in the past month and writers have come back to declare, some of the Stormland houses, some major houses in the Stormlands have declared for Blackfyre in the past month. If they brought banners with them, he might request that he keeps those banners with his host to symbolize the growing allegiance to Blackfyre and the Stormlands and the Reach.
I think you can certainly put up that pretense. I always used to think that particularly because you think of modern warfare and everyone tries to hide, right? But like back with in you know, when you had to like command an entire flanks of people, it was important to know where your allies were, so everyone was carrying a flag to go, we're over here, it's okay, don't attack us. So like I never really understood that until kind of fairly recently. So I don't think they would really send like much of that if they weren't marching with you. But for sure you can kind of have the pretense of there being at least a banner of one of the
little pennant flags.
Right. I want to say, yeah. So,
even better. You have found some kind of tattered, kind of long strips of fabric of the right colors, so that you can have those colors and basically,
the patch.
Yeah, you could say, oh, that's so and so. We just haven't got their banner, but it's kind of this is all of us. We're flying under one flag, kind of thing.
So Caswell, Merryweather, Mullendore, Hightower, Costain, Karen, Fowler, Will, Swan, Meadows, like all of these colors in this long strip of banner, that even the houses that aren't present. And his knights, his small, and he doesn't come down with a large contingency, but they are House Tarly knights with Lord Caswell and probably a few of his knights. Very organized in a triangular formation as they ride away from their camp to meet Lady Miria and Lord Harris. Samuel himself, his hair is shortened, but he's had time to get it cut so that at least it doesn't look like a complete patchwork mess.
You got a wicked, side undercut.
That's right. weird, tight, small, short-haired curls, and probably like I want to imagine like along his scalp on his forehead is a strip, a burn strip. Looks like probably a little bit like a large birthmark on the side of his head from the fire.
And maybe he's got like one eyebrow. Something.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, cool.
Okay. They ride gallantly with their banners behind them, their armor properly polished, looking like a true gathering of knights and a host.
And then as you ride up to meet them, and then arrive and hold the horses short by 15, 20 feet or so, you can see that Harris looks like he's literally just come off the travel, like he's in his traveling gear, even though it's armor, but it looks unpolished and it's probably kind of a part plate. It's not even like full plate. He looks like more of a hedge knight than he does this Lord Ball that is meant to be, the protector, the warden of the South. So he kind of, you can see as he sits on his horse, he kind of uncomfortably moves his armor about a little bit and kind of moves his pauldron and tries to polish it off a bit and kind of look the part, even though he's in this like traveling armor. Miria probably looks amazing as usual in her fucking wicked Dornish silks.
No, I think she looks very much the same because they've just been going hell for leather since Fox Hollow. I think the only thing about her that looks nice is perhaps that long headscarf that she wears, that serves as like a cape that goes over her shoulder, which is kept in place. It's definitely not a mini little tiara crown thing. But it absolutely is. Yeah, that's like the only thing. And it's black. It's it's like a raven black on the outside. It's a little bit effervescent in the light. Not effervescent, that means sparkly. You know what I mean? It's that shiny.
She's got a glitter vibe going on.
Got a glitter vibe, and it's like golden thread inside.
All right.
That's the only nice thing she's got on right now.
I think Samwell and Lord Caswell ride up a few paces beyond the other knights and come to a stop on the top of their horses. And Samwell's eyes just move between Miria and Harris.
Harris looks over to Miria and then kicks his horse to move up, just a few more feet towards the two lords opposite them, and then as his horse comes to a stop, it pads the ground with its front hoof just a few times, digging up the clods of dirt before he kind of pats it on the neck, his horse giving away some nervousness.
Maria rides up just a little behind him, just to be like, he is a Lord Paramount. I am going to observe the right thing, and just slightly behind. But yeah, she holds a position, and she's like almost glaring at Samuel. There is no kindness, there is no smile as the knights approach. She's got a very stony face.
Samuel doesn't speak. He just looks between the two of them. He doesn't have an unkind expression on his face, but there's an expectant look in his eyes.
My lord.
Lord Harris, Lady Miria, I could not be more grateful that you are here right now. Welcome.
Lord Samwell. Lord... I'm going to roll for this.
Oh God, Harris, no, not now. Not now, Harris.
He would be pretty dumb not to know. This is like a difficulty 3. He'd be pretty fucking
Okay.
dumb not to know this. Knowledge. 3 dice. Let's not roll ones. Okay, cool.
Oh, that's my
All right, he
boy.
knows exactly who this is. Okay. Fuck, what was his first name? We always just call him Lord Caswell.
I have no idea.
It's cool. We've got a handout for this. It's called Players and Pieces. There we go. Because I went mad one day and wrote all the names down. Caswell? Hello.
Caswell?
Ardian.
Ardian. I was about to be
Hardly
like
know.
Adrian. No. Ardian. Lord Ardian. Caswell.
Well, now that you are here, I suppose it would be good for you to come into our camp and join us so we can catch up. You can speak to us of what is happening in the South, and I will tell you what I have done here in the Reach.
His Grace thanks you for your efforts here in the Reach. And he looks back to Lady Miria. And it's not telepathic, but I can imagine that on the way you've been talking a little bit about how to approach this and what to do.
Yeah.
And this is the look of, is this the point where I say I'm now taking over his army for the king, or no?
Oh, there's gonna be like, I think there's a little head shake from Miria. Just a little, not yet. Mm-mm.
And so he looks back to the two lords in front of him, and he says, "That would be good. We've ridden far from the Red Mountains, from Fox Hollow, in fact, and so a rest would be welcome."
Miria trots forward a little. She looks at Samuel. We can forego the hospitality ritual. We all know it means nothing here. And she just trots into the camp. Just trots forward.
Harris was not prepared for the drama, and so he just sits there on his horse.
Samuel looks to Harris as she trots past, and he leans over on his horse a little bit and gives a small smile, and he says, "Well, she's right."
Harris
But-
just inches back, just a couple of inches on him, just inches back.
But my lord, I promise you, I am a great admirer of your father, and I hope that we can become friends and strong allies.
Thank you.
I have wine. Let's go into camp and talk.
And so he would try and keep up with you on like a parallel as you're trotting down through the camp to the.
And there's
to the
probably
host.
like some niceties talked, and Samuel's not trying to ride ahead or show him up, but he would ask for, how was the travel? What have you heard in the countryside as you've been in the Reach?
People are. I tell you what. If you want, ask me a couple of questions, and I'll do that whole GM answer. We can do it a little bit from
Do you want me to-
Harris's
do you want me
perspective.
Do you want me to roll something? Like,
no, this is literally from Harris's perspective. Like, if you want a little bit of a vibe on what the Reach is like at the moment and what they've actually discovered, like, you know, like if this was like the whole thing, we'd be having like chapters of, you know, Harris and Miria traveling and through the thing and seeing the Reach
montage.
and seeing what it's like, and, you know, meeting a poor, you know, Septon who, you know, is trying to build a orphanage. I don't fucking know, whatever happened in the books and the show. But yeah, like you'd see a bit of the real life of what's happening. But if you want to get a vibe about that, about the kind of the war as well, then yeah, absolutely, ask away.
Yeah, so as they're trotting along to camp, side by side, Samuel sends Lord Caswell up to ride alongside Miria, or right behind Miria. And when he's kind of alone on the road with Harris, he says, "It must be exciting to return to your homeland after being gone so long, and to have the freedom you did not have when you lived here before. How has your time in the Reach treated you? How have its people treated you?"
If you forgive me, my lord, it's like riding through a dream. It's all familiar, and yet I've never really been here. It feels like home.
It is your home, my lord, and the dream will fade in time. You simply need to spend time with the people. Let them get to know you. You need lords on your side who can help show you what the Reach is, what its people desire, what its people need. Friends.
And you can see that literally kind of bolstering him up a little bit, like thinking about that.
I have to admit, Lord Harris, I haven't heard much of your story. It's not a story they tell on the road. Your arrival here has been quiet. The presence of the king. Many of us look forward to meeting King Daemon, to learning what sort of man he is. But your efforts have been so far away and removed from the Reach that the only story we know here is the story of this host.
It was Lord Jourdain that really enabled us to gain a foothold once again in the Seven Kingdoms. And so through his work, enabling us to land on the northern coast of Dorne, it is unfortunate, but it is strategic in that His Grace and Lord Bittersteel fight their way to Sunspear and the south as best they can, gathering allies there and conquering the first of what should be all Seven Kingdoms. I myself, after a quick victory at Ironwood, with thanks to Lady Miria, I was to gain allies as I marched through the Reach. We assumed that, as you've demonstrated now, as he looks around himself, you can see all the tents and all the people that are following you, that the Reach would muster to our call. And so, without much of an army, much of a force at all, we were to gather and gain allies as we went.
Well, let me ask you, Lord Harris, how is the effort in Dorne? I've heard nothing. Can Bittersteel take Sunspear? Does he have the support, the forces?
In truth, if they are fighting alone, with the Tyroshi mercenaries that they were able to bring across the Narrow Sea. It's not likely. But Dawn was not entirely united in fighting with the hammer and anvil last time. And so I do not doubt that they have gained some allies. And Bitter Steel is a fine general, an excellent strategic mind, and I have no doubt that he will give the Dornish a run for their money. And he shares a kind of wry smile.
I'm sure he will, Lord. I'm glad you're here. I'm glad we could speak now together and meet. I can tell you, whatever else you've heard, that the Reach has fallen under Blackfyre's banner, almost without bloodshed, almost. And that has been my primary concern in uniting the Reach, to keep civil war out of it, to make sure that the fronts of war are fought further to the north. And in this past month, since the dragon has shown itself to be mad, as I'm sure you've heard of the events at Summerhall, most of the Stormlands has rallied to Blackfyre as well. I have been fighting a war of stories, Lord Harris. More so stories than a war of arms up to this point. And I wish to help you tell your story. Because whatever position the king has given you, the people here in the Reach, they do not know you, and you do not know them. Not yet.
It is true. It is true, my lord. Thank you. I'm glad to have finally arrived. I must admit, I did expect you at Summerhall, and so to arrive and greet you earlier. Does that mean you succeeded there?
You have not heard.
I'm afraid we have not.
He kind of looks ahead down the road to where Miria is riding into camp and ponders for a second, riding ahead, but he doesn't. He says, "We took Summerhall easily enough, my lord. Prince Maekar was not there.
No.
But our intention to take it and gather the wards for more leverage to avoid more bloodshed led us into a trap. Prince Aeron, he destroyed the palace, burned his own men alive, burned the wards alive with wildfire. A monstrous act, a cowardly act. Our host was not largely present inside the palace, but the men who were inside, besides myself, all died. Every ward died. It was a terrifying thing to behold, but it was a mistake because the Targaryens showed then their true face. And I have sent letters, my lord, across the realms to the Stormlands and to Dorne through the Reach, letting people know what they did. And now more houses are rallying to join me and our host here.
By the Father. That sounds
There is-
God's awful.
It was a nightmare for me. But it's part of the tale now, Lord Harris. And Summerhall is gone. We ride west now. Along this road, we will rally houses as we go. Almost the entirety of the Reach is behind us. And our road ends at Highgarden. But enough of this morbid news. Do you wrestle, Lord Harris? Are you a fit man?
Wait a second. Check out his personality again.
Can I make a charm check? I'm definitely trying to influence Harris Ball right now.
Oh, you're trying
I
something.
see you, Jonathan Fry. I fucking see you. Don't you dare.
Oh, chicka wam wam.
He says, I'm afraid I don't. The Tyroshi were not ones for wrestling as such as knife play. And wrestling was not exactly on the curriculum at Summerhall.
Well, here in the Reach, it is a common tradition amongst the men. And if you'd like, we can have a few glasses of wine. We can continue to talk about our futures. And you can join me and some of my men, let off some steam. It would be good for them to see you there amongst them.
Thank you, my lord.
I promise not to pin you too quickly.
And he kind of he laughs and he gives you that nod, but you can kind of tell that he doesn't really understand what that means. But he's just like, okay, cool.
I'm trying to get him to like me better. That's my goal here as we're riding along. Also to get information, of course.
Okay.
Trade information.
Okay. Okay. So, are we going to be truthful with me, Jonathan Fry? What are we rolling here? Charm or seduce?
Okay. This is charm.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah. I mean,
Roll charm for me.
it could maybe later, but right now it's charm. Things
here.
are complicated enough.
I am
in
fucking here
Samuel's
for
life.
it. I am here for it. Right.
Jonathan Fry, I know where you live.
You don't even have to cross the Atlantic either. A lot harder for me. All right. Sure. Let's ruin this long romance in the making. No. Okay. Roll charm for me. This is going to be against intrigue defense. Yeah. So
I'm gonna use one of those bonus die that I have.
Oh, sweet. Okay. Cool. Oh, now I get to see what chat have been saying. Okay.
But I get a bonus die. So that is going to be, why is that so low? Oh, yes, because my reputation precedes me. So that is going to be a 13.
Okay, that's enough. You feel as if you have made a good impression.
Okay. That's all you wanted, really.
On Harry Balls. Right. Okay. Well, look. I mean, this is your camp. You are kind of in the riding seat. Yeah, that's the word. So, yeah. What do you want to frame the scene like? Where do you want to gather? What do you want to show Harris in the way that you're putting this together?
Yeah. So Samuel definitely wants to talk to Miri at some point, but first he wants to win Harris over and probably keep them somewhat separate. So he wants to show them around camp, and Miria would be allowed to come too if Miria wants to follow along. But he's basically showing them the different banners, the different armies.
Yeah.
He would have people bring over wine and meat, and his goal is to basically just entertain Harris for a while, and if he can get him to wrestle, great. If not, then he can see Samwell and some of the other men wrestle. But I also want to provide, I want to open it up so that I provide opportunities for the other characters to connect to.
Okay, for sure. Then I tell you what, I want to throw this out to Millie and V. Is there, and I'm allowing you some real dramatic freedom here, I want to give you the opportunity to be in passing to this scene. If you want to interject here at any, at this point, either of you, just let us know that you are there doing something. And oh, look, it's Harrison and Samwell.
I think Faye would only be visible if they went near the section that all the archers were gathered.
Yeah,
she's full on,
let's do that.
The only girl at the gym right now.
Sure. Yeah.
Everyone's offering help.
Waiting for Miria, because she knows Miria's coming, and as soon as I imagine Samuel would have had to come back to the tent to get Heartsbane, so she knows where he's gone, but she is waiting for Miria to show up because she wants to be the one to tell her about Brynn before she has to hear anything that any of the men are going to talk about, because it's probably still the main topic of conversation at camp is what happened at Summerhall. And she wants Miria to hear that from her, so she is just waiting.
Are you waiting in your tent, or are you going out looking for her, or are you have you told somebody to tell you as soon as she gets here, kind of thing?
She's probably waiting by the camp entrance somewhere. So that she can see the horses coming back, because she wants to obviously greet Samuel and probably briefly greet Harris, but she imagines they're going off, but she wants to try and grab Miria before.
Let's have that happen. Yeah, let's have that have happened. So you kind of give the nod to Samuel and to Harris. You greet them. They now, he now knows who you are, and so the two boys ride off in towards the camp. It gives you the opportunity to flag Miria down.
Yeah, I think Mara's probably, whatever tent is closest, it's probably a hospitality tent or something of some kind, because I imagine there's a lot of those around. Mara probably clears everyone out of it, very politely asks, the men in there to move off to another tent so that they can have, she doesn't want to take Miria back to her tent and have that, now you're in my domain thing. This is the most neutral ground you're probably going to get in the camp. And she's just going to wait there for Miria to come in with the horse, and once she's off and someone takes it. If Miria doesn't acknowledge her, Mara will just call out to her.
I think as the horse stops and an attendant takes her, Miria dismounts, and she has not looked at Mara as she's come up to the entrance. She's not said a word, but she dismounts. She turns to her. Greetings, sister.
And Mara probably still looks like hell. She's probably in her armor, and it's probably still a badly repaired, where that cut is across the greave. It's very obviously been repaired. The fine engraving is all gone where it's been sanded to, fuse it back together. She just takes a minute to look at Miria, because she hasn't seen you in probably this has got to be the best part of 6 to 8 months, if not more now.
Yeah.
And there's a little bit of a smile. It's not I'm happy to see you. It's more that I'm happy you're alive kind of smile, that just at the edges of her mouth. Miria, I'm really sorry. We really need to talk about something. And there is genuine grief and worry in Mara's face. When you look at her.
And Miria meets her eyes, and she's got again a very stony, very practiced, neutral face. There's a lot of things we need to talk about, and she sort of shoulder checks her a little bit as she walks past her into the tent.
I think there's a little bit of Mara that almost, not on her face, but deep down inside, is almost pleased by that. She has an image in her head of a younger Miria, running around Fox Hollow, and the two of them. Mara's probably trying to look after her, and Miria's, climbing up something. I imagine that's kind of child Miria was.
She was an angel.
Irish.
She never did anything wrong in her life.
Of course not. Not when anyone was looking. But I think she kind of gestures to Miria to the now empty hospitality tent, and will go and rummage and look for the good wine that's kept somewhere, and just put it on the table. She's not going to pour it or anything, and sits down. And you can see Mara's wringing her hands as she just looks at you. like almost going to start to say something, and then she kind of doesn't and looks away again.
And Miria stands, she doesn't take a seat, and she's got a very very formal hands behind her back, almost like a parade rest she stood at.
Miria, sit down. Please.
Why?
Please.
What could you possibly have to say to me that is worse than anything you've already done?
Miria, sit down. And it's like immediately that older sister voice, not in like a I'm telling you what to do, but in like, no, really, I mean it. Like, you need to sit down.
And there's the twitch of the eyebrow, the flare of the nostril, as Miria's like, the fuck do you think you are? But she moves to a chair and sits.
And it's probably the first time in a long time that you've seen Mara not relaxed, but like she's not doing the thing that she did at the tournament where she was like, I'm playing the lady. She is like, she's in armor in a rough spun dress, and she's kind of like resting on the table. She hasn't got that good posture. She kind of puts her head in her hands. Miria, have you heard what happened at Summerhall? She doesn't look at you. She sits there with her eyes closed and like half covering her face.
No. Harris and I were riding non-stop since Fox Hollow. We've barely had time to stop.
And it takes her a minute to answer. And if you're looking at her, you can just start to see like the tears on her cheeks as like you realize that she's sitting there like trying to will herself to say something. And she looks up at you and she is like welling up. I don't know how to. And she's shaking, like really shaking. I imagine it might remind Miria of Mara having to explain what happened to their brothers the first time around. Like if it was Mara that did that, this probably looks just like that.
And she looks at her and she goes, what is it? What have you done now?
It's not what we did. They set Summerhall up like a trap. They barricaded the halls and the corridors like a maze. And the wards. The whole place was a trap, Miria.
What about the wards?
They'd rigged everything to go up in flames. Wildfire, Miria. The sky was green. And they'd used the wards as bait. Wieland was there.
You hear just the twisting of leather in her palms as Miria has taken off her riding gloves and she's had them in her lap and she's just wringing them in her hands.
They'd hog-tied all of them. Put them in the hall where the wildfire canisters were. When the men came through, we sent men in to try and find the wards to get them out of the fighting as quickly as possible. The whole thing just went up. Samuel saw everything and he couldn't get to any of them in time. The whole room just exploded. And like at this point, like Mara is just quietly hysterical in tears, shaking. I'm so sorry, but he's gone. And like it's genuine grief, like it's difficult for Mara to get the words out as she's describing it.
And Miria's jaw clenches, her brow furrows, and there's the hint of tears at the corner of her eyes, but none like spill as down her cheeks. All of the wards. Joy.
Anyone who
Lyra. Hillary's sister. All of them.
They planned to burn the place. They'd use the wards as bait. They knew that we'd go in and try to get them to safety, and they set the whole thing up. The prince burned his own men alive in there too. They didn't intend for anybody to leave.
Why were you there in the first place? You had not been ordered to. You had not even sent a missive to the king. So why were you there in the first place?
Because we thought Maekar was there. I don't command this army, Miria. If you want to take up over there, you can take that up with Samuel.
Oh, I will. Do not try to sit there contrite and crying, Mara. Wylan's blood is on your hands as much as it is the Targaryens.
You think I don't know that?
Just as everyone's blood is on your hands. Ellery's blood is on your hands. I heard what you did at Horn Hill. Though no one will quite tell me how. So Mara, tell me, what happened there? Do not lie to me.
Why would I lie to you? You think I'm proud of what I did? I'm not proud of what happened there. I don't know what kind of monster you make me out to be, but even I wouldn't be prideful about what happened there.
So what did happen there, Mara?
I spoke to Ellery during the evening. Tried to see if he knew where you were. I was happy for you. At your engagement announcement, believe me, I really was. He didn't seem to know where you were. And I made it very clear to him that even though you hate me, I would do whatever I could to help you, to keep you safe if I had to. When we picked out the lords that we'd bring up to the parapets, Ellery was among them. People with influence, people that could bend the knee, people who, if they bent the knee, they could blow to the Targaryens. And we gave them all the same choice. Bend the knee or face the sword. And Ellery refused. And I swear, Miria, when I went over there, I asked him. I tried to give him a chance. I begged him to just bend the knee. To think about you. Hell, I wouldn't have cared if he was paying lip service and just said it to save his own skin to get to you. But he wouldn't. I tried. I really did try. And I know I could have stopped it. I know I could have taken him hostage then and there. But there were other things at stake. There was an audience. And believe me, my decision to do what I did wasn't pride.
To do what you did. What did you do, Mara?
Heartsbane is a very heavy sword. And I didn't want... He deserved a clean death. Any man deserves a clean death. And I can't swing Heartsbane like Samuel can.
Miria looks like she's about to throw up. She looks repulsed by what she's hearing.
So I gave him the cleanest execution that I could, Miria. I'm so sorry. Believe me when I really am sorry, and if I could go back, I would change what I did.
The chair Miria is in flies backwards as Miria punches Mara in the face.
Mara won't stop her. Like if as the chair goes out,
She's gonna. So if this is cool with you, V, she's gonna punch through, basically like a good punch through your target for the full momentum, and knock Mara backwards. And with her other hand, she pulls the dagger from her waist and holds it to Mara's neck.
Mara won't move. The most she'll do is she'll put her hands up, so at least they're like by her face, but she's not like trying to grab for Miria's arm. She'll just lay there, like imagine the lip bleeding, like bloodied nose.
I say this only because we know that security has been tightened. You hear 2 pacing sets of feet marching up behind you, Miria.
Don't touch her. Mara will just call out.
Miria's not broken her eyes off Mara, and her face is red. Her eyes are
Mara's
full of tears.
holding that gaze with Miria, but she calls out to the guards not to do anything.
And Miria screams in her face, "What gave you the right? Who declared you queen? Who gave you the order to take his life? I should kill you here. I should save the fucking realm from your poison."
I'm sorry, Miria.
Don't.
He wouldn't bend the knee. I
He
tried.
wouldn't because he couldn't. He was as much a victim as I was, as the wards were. You don't know what they did to him. Mar, he was a good man. And you, and she presses that blade just a little tighter, took him. For what?
I'm sorry. And if I could change it, I would, but I can't.
I don't want to hear anymore, Mara, how sorry you are. You were sorry before, and you were sorry the time before that. It's never stopped you, and it won't ever stop you again. But you know why I'm not going to kill you here today, Mara? Because I am better than you in every conceivable way. And at that, she pushes herself back up, puts that blade back on her belt.
Amara will slowly pick herself up, kind of wipe the blood from her lip. I really am sorry, Miria. I had the body burned, the bones recovered. They are wrapped and safe at the feet of the statue of the stranger at Horn Hill.
Well, I'm sure that will be a great comfort to his family. Oh, wait.
I thought that you might want to bury them.
I suppose I'm the only one that can now.
I'm sorry that I took him from you. And I cannot give him back. Truly I am. But I didn't do it to spite you or to hurt you.
No, I know you didn't. And I'm not as self-absorbed as you think that you did. It's just funny how your actions always seem to hurt those that you profess to love. I hope it's worth it. At the end of the day, when all is said and done, I hope it's worth it, Mara. When you are stood alone and no one beside you.
I hope so too. Like, you can see in her face that she's genuinely hurt by how hurt you are. Like, that's not an Like, I feel like
Mhm.
Miri would know the difference between Mara putting on a face and
Yeah.
Mara being genuine, and she is genuine when she says it. Like, there is a regret. Like, the sorry isn't, I'm saying this to make you feel better, but like, the more I say it, the more you hate me, but it's true.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I thought you knew.
Funny thing. News moves slowly in these times. But to save the trouble of any future ravens, I want to make it clear here and now that you, Samuel, any man, any peasant bearing Tarly colors is not welcome at House Ironwood, and will never be welcome at House Ironwood for as long as I live, for as long as my children may live. For generations to come, House Tarly is forbidden.
You took Oliver's house.
I took my house.
Your house? I saw your
And she's-
letter. You signed it Miria Sand, not Greenmont.
Funny thing. Our sainted mother slept with Oliver. I'm his daughter.
She just looks at you for a minute and like, and she thinks for a second, and you can see there's another hurt on her face. Like she's recognized something else. But she doesn't say anything. He would be proud of you.
Don't invoke him in his name. We've had this discussion before. Especially not since she married one of the conspirators that killed him.
Samuel regrets that.
Well, I'm glad. I'm glad he does. He should. He should regret it until his dying day.
He does. I saw him at Oliver's grave.
He took him to his grave.
I did.
Do the insults never end with you, Mara? What next? Did you take a piss on it too?
No, Miria. I took him there because that is the closest he will ever get to making up for what he did.
Making up. There can be no making up for what he did.
He didn't drive the sword that killed Oliver.
No,
Miria.
but he led the men that charged the hall, Mara.
Under
He can
Alistair's
sit
command.
there, he can cry his big fat tears of sorrow and regret, but it means fucking nothing because he took the action. He did it. We are talking about accountability here, Mara. I am holding him accountable for my father's death. He and Alistair are the reason why I do not have a father. Well, I have no family.
Miria, I know you are angry about that.
Angry.
And I understand it. You don't ever have to forgive him for the role that he played in that. Hell, you don't have to forgive me for the role that I unwittingly played in that. And I regret defending Alistair. But eventually, time moves on. Oliver has been dead for 5 years. How long can you hold on to that hurt? How long can any of us hold on to any of the hurt? I spent 5 years holding on to the hurt that Alistair caused me, and all it did was brought me more pain. You don't have to forgive Samuel, or me, or Alistair, or anybody else. Just like I don't forgive Alistair for what he did. But for your own sake, let some of that pain go. It will twist you up. I'm sorry.
You have no idea about who I am and what I have endured in my life. You sitting there with your life of privilege and comfort, barely knowing hardship. Be honest with yourself, Mara.
Maybe
telling
not
me, telling me to let go. I applaud the audacity of it. Truly, I do. But unless you have walked even in a fraction of a mile in my shoes, you have no right to tell me how to live my life.
And unless you've walked in mine, you have no right to tell me how to live mine either. I'm not playing a game with you where we score points about who's had it worse. I'd agree with you that you have. But for all of the hardship that you have been through, my life hasn't exactly been sitting here looking pretty and having a good time, not the entirety of it. Far more of it than you have got to have, and I'm sorry for that. But you haven't walked in my shoes either.
I cannot bear to look at someone like you who paints herself a victim, knowing full well what you have done.
I have been the victim and I have victimized other people. I know that.
Been the victim of what? What has the world done to you that was so terrible, Mara?
Oh, not the world. I don't blame the world or the gods. People do things to people, Miria. I murdered Ellery.
Yes, you did.
Just like Marcia murdered my child. Tried to murder me.
And you were complicit in the death of her other son. Now you're square.
I wanted Wieland out of there and safe.
Back with his mother?
Would you give Wieland back to Marcia? Would you really?
Having been in Wieland's position, yes. Marcia is a very hurt woman. Very hurt woman.
But I heard what she did at Fox Hollow. Fox Hollow didn't have the forces to fight against House Karen.
No, they didn't. I was there. And I stopped the fight before it got worse. But to do so, I had to cut my way through Greenmont men.
Greenmont men that she sent to their deaths. Tell me, why would I want to give our brother back to her after that?
Because it's where he belongs. It's where he always belonged before Maekar and his pride took him. Do you know what happened when I returned to Fox Hollow after my time in Ironwood?
What?
I petitioned to become a ward again, to return Wieland back to the house. And it was rejected. Because now Maekar had a son, and he was far more valuable than I ever would be.
I'm sorry you
I
were
sat
ever warded in the
with
first
Marcia as she cried for her sons. I promised her I would do everything that I could to get them home. Together again, twins. They should be together.
I promised our father the same thing when you were warded. Your stepfather. And I wish I had done. Maybe none of this would have turned out the way that it did for either of us.
Somehow I doubt that.
I tried, Miria. I tried, and I was told to stop trying, so I did as I was told, and look where that got me.
You're awfully good at doing what you're told.
I'm sorry for all of it. I'm sorry that I listened when Marzia told me not to try and get you out of Summerhall. I'm sorry that I didn't know what Alistair had planned when he charged into Fox Hollow. I'm sorry I ever tried to protect him because I thought I was doing the right thing by my husband. I'm sorry that I took Ellery from you. And I'm sorry that us marching on Summerhall resulted in Whelan's death, our brother. I'm sorry for all of it, but I can't change it. And you don't have to forgive me. But at least until the end of this war, I would like it if we weren't at each other's throats the entire time. Then I wouldn't have blamed you if you'd have slit my throat 5 minutes ago.
Were we not at war, I would have.
You wouldn't have felt any better.
It's highly doubtful.
The one thing I have learned is that killing doesn't make you feel any better.
How many men have you killed, Laura? Just the one? The unarmed prisoner?
Yes. And it didn't feel
Oh,
good.
then you
Miria.
truly know the terrible burden of killing. A warrior, look at you. Until you have lived, breathed, bled, and fought alongside your men, you have no right to talk about what it is to take a life. You do not know what it is to take a life when a man is coming at you with his weapon drawn and one purpose in his eyes. I imagine it would be much, much easier to take that sword and pierce poor boy who could do nothing to protect himself. Would you have done it if he was there armed, able to defend himself?
I'm not a fighter, Miria.
Then don't play at one.
I've been on the other end of a sword and it is not pleasant.
She laughs at the bits of armor she's wearing. What is this?
This was a wedding gift.
A wedding gift.
It saved my life once.
Pity.
I won't keep you, Miria, if you want to catch up with Harris. I'm sure he is somewhere with Samuel, drinking.
When I leave this tent, Mara, any bond, love, connection we may have had as kin is gone. This is the last time I will look upon you as my sister. From this point onwards, you will be the Lady Tarly and nothing more. Because I cannot bear to keep you in my heart any longer.
Nobody
You
asked
have-
me to.
And at this point, she's full on like crying as she's saying this.
Mara looks ashamed, like genuine. Probably for the first time in a long time you've ever seen that look on her face, like since they were children, probably.
You have done everything in your power to destroy any love that I would have had for you. And even still, there is a part of me that is screaming against what I'm saying right now, that is begging me to forgive you. I remember those days when we were young, when you would braid my hair and sing me songs and tell me of our mother. And I think back to that girl and I wonder where she went. I wonder when she was replaced by a snake, by poison. And so I will keep those memories. That is all I will have.
I'm sorry,
Ew.
Maria, that I took a sister from you too.
And she goes to say something, but her voice just chokes. I can't. Not anymore. And she moves to get out of the tent.
Mara won't stop her, but Mara doesn't move. She stays where she stood since she picked herself up off the floor.
You walk past two Tarly knights, swords and shields still drawn in a ready position. You walk between them, and they follow you.
If Mara hears them follow off, she'll stop them following and order them to come into the tent with her.
Okay.
And when she does, that bottle of wine that hasn't been touched on the table, she'll look at both of them and just go, sit, drink. She doesn't pour a lot of wine, but like she's doing anything in this moment to not be sat by herself because she'll fall apart if she is. And so makes the both of them sit and have, you know, a ridiculous amount of wine so that she can feel like enough time for Miria to leave and not be in the direct vicinity before she can go out.
They both very confused sit and very badly pretend at having a little
Mara
like
probably
tea party
knows.
with you.
and appreciates it. I imagine these are Mara's guards, though, so they probably know her because she has the little retinue that Samuel has following her around. So they probably know her fairly well at this point.
Yeah, I mean, they're following your orders, but you're stopping them, like, telling everyone to watch out for Miria and stuff. So they're just a bit like, we should definitely be somewhere else right now.
It's like two minutes that she keeps them, just enough time that Mara can leave the tent. They could probably still catch up to Miria, and then she'll thank them and be a bit embarrassed and let them
they're
leave.
off. They're off. They're off spreading the news. Cool. All right. Faye.
Actually, Faye is directly outside the tent as she leaves because this has not been a quiet conversation. And she's just leaning against whatever version of like hay bales or whatever's blocked up for people to sit on, lean on.
Some more
And
flammable stuff.
Yeah, just holds her gaze as she walks out of the tent and then just goes.
Miria is like wiping her eyes and trying to like compose herself after this, and she looks, Lady Faye, I didn't expect to see you here.
Nor did I. Reaches down and picks up a wineskin that she's brought with her and holds it out.
Miria just woof. She takes a huge chug.
Yeah, same for Faye. And she'll clasp your
assume-
hand.
I assume you heard that.
I think the majority of the realm heard that.
Well, as you can imagine, tensions were high.
I certainly got that impression, yes.
Why are you here?
Well, that's a question in itself, really, isn't it? Apparently it's for my diplomacy, and yet... Would you care to walk?
And she looks over her shoulder at that tent and the guards, no doubt, coming after her. I suppose I should be chaperoned.
Yeah, you
Fail,
see.
look at these guards.
Yeah,
Like,
so what you see is these two guards, and they're rushing out as if they think, okay, she's fucked off, she's gone somewhere, we need to go and find her. And they see you there immediately. One of them like goes off in another direction to the right, and then he calls back his mate, who kind of comes around. And they just kind of, the two of them just kind of look at you like expecting something. But because Lady Faye's there, now they're in a different situation, and it's like...
Yeah, Fail just like wave her hand. Go away. Shoo.
And Miria turns and says, if I'd intended to kill Mara, she would have been dead before you entered the tent. No one here is any harm from me.
And they whisper between them, and then they walk off. With an intent, you know, rather than just wandering off. This is the most confusing guard day ever. Like, these poor guys.
They're just trying to do their jobs, man.
Look, I'm just trying to do my job, all right?
I'm probably used to Mara's bullshit by now. Like,
Go here, go
get
there,
paid well
bring me
enough to put up
wine.
with it.
Drink the wine.
it was good wine.
It was the good wine. I'm bummed I didn't drink any. Should have smashed the bowl over your fucking head. Anyway, sorry. Love you. Yes, Millie, we're in a scene.
I can't even remember what was happening.
We're going for a walk.
Oh, yes. Yay. So I don't think there'll be any particular direction that she'll be walking in. You'll definitely notice that her dress is probably a little bit raggedy down one sleeve. She's probably like ripped it to keep it out of the way. I don't think she will have the bow on her as well, but it's just slung over her shoulder. But at the moment, they're just walking to not be there. I suppose the bigger question is, why are you here?
Well, as you've no doubt surmised, I pledge my allegiance to the Blackfyres.
Yes. Why?
It's a very, very long story involving many things. But needless to say, there is a rot in this realm. And I know you've seen it. We talked about it at the tournament. But it is ingrained in everything. And every system here. And this is my opportunity to do something about it.
Have you met this would-be king? Nobody else seems to have.
I was at the parley at the tour when they arrived.
And?
Together with Lord Bittersteel and the advisors, I believe that we can do something good.
So, ruled by committee?
Are you not already? You came from Highgarden, did you not?
Highgarden is Highgarden. Highgarden is not the king.
But Highgarden is a microcosm. The Reach, the Crownlands, Dawn, Stormlands, Riverlands, the North, they're all mini kingdoms. All ruled over by someone who is king, just not in title.
Does this man have two heads or something that everyone is so unwilling to describe the fellow?
I have not had audience with him.
And we're sure he exists?
Yes.
Please do not feel that I am making light of the words that were spoken in that tent, but is it wrong that I feel faintly jealous of you?
Jealous of me.
To have an army at my back and to be able to be that blunt and then leave.
It was incredibly stupid what I did in there. The tally host is 4 times the one I brought, and the one I brought is compromised of deserters and people we could pick up along the way. I could have brought the forces of House Karen with me, but I decided to leave them at Fox Hollow. Lady Matsuo is not doing well.
Not doing well, how?
She is acting irrationally. She is lashing out at everyone and everything.
That's understandable, is it not?
As a woman, yes. But as the leader of a house, the way she is acting is dangerous. I arrived at Fox Hollow as a friend, as her daughter, to warn her, to advise her, to keep her and Bryn and Wirlin safe as I had promised that I would do. And she would not hear a word I said. She is so consumed by her pain and her anger that she sent men to their deaths for no reason.
As with every man who entered Summerhall, as with every man who's entered battle, ever.
There is a difference between meeting your enemy on the field and sending men out in a siege that was not happening. There was no siege. House Karen, although I understand the provocation, were not sieging Fox Hollow. Men, messages, food, supplies were allowed to move freely in and out of the castle. They were there as a deterrent force to prevent her from sending men out, and it did not stop her.
A cornered animal bites.
We are not animals.
Give it time. Oh, put my fist through his stupid face.
I will say it felt very good to hit her. Very good. So she kind of flexes her hand a little bit because it always hurts after you throw a punch. And I think her knuckles are a little bloody because if she hit a lip, she probably hit a tooth, which means she probably cut her knuckle. Do you mind? Can I borrow that for 1 minute with the wineskin?
Of course.
She just tips it over her knuckles like, ah!
I'd offer you a bandage, but I'm running out of dresses. She takes another sip of wine.
She looks at you. She's like, what happened to you? What happened to Mara?
What happened to Mara?
Oh, she was there in a sorry state with her little arm and...
Oh. Targaryen night. She draws breath to say something and then thinks better of it and takes another sip of wine.
Please finish the thought.
I was thinking that I wished I didn't take my promises so seriously.
You're not alone in that one.
That point that a Caswell Knight turns up and says to Lady Faye, "My lady, his lordship brings a missive, news from Dawn. He's requesting a war council." And then he kind of looks to Miria for a second and then looks back at Faye.
It takes her a second to figure out which lordship he's talking about.
He's got the colours and all that, though, going on.
So he finally sees fit to involve me. How delightful. This should be amusing. Are you staying?
For the time being, I think. But we will soon have to march to Dawn. Listen, Faye, I don't presume to know where your allegiances lie. I can guess. But I think the one thing we can both agree on is that Samuel and Mara are dangerous.
I'm assuming this night has gone away.
Oh, yeah. Oh, God, yeah. Someone was saying this in front of the night. Sorry, I completely, spaced there for a second.
You can spend a destiny point to have him kind of out of earshot, but I imagine that you are following him to wherever this war council is.
Yeah, I'll spend it. I'll spend a destiny point. I don't care.
Okay.
I got 2. Spend 1.
Sometimes I'm generous. Sometimes you just,
Yeah.
if you catch yourself, then I'm sorry.
Samuel Tarly was a sweet boy. I think he might still be misguided, or too eager to make friends, but your sister is... I don't believe in good and evil people, but she is as close to the latter as I have ever encountered.
Well, as previously stated, she is no longer my sister.
Well, wrestling is going to have to wait, Samuel Tarly, because news arrives of news from Dawn. And so we go to a war council tent with Lord Caswell and you all there, Harris as well, standing up next to Sir Samuel. It's a moment, strangely, to stand for, it feels, because for the first time you're able to hear what is going on. And so in a fairly short missive that is sealed with the was it the horse with the dragon wings and like the flaming like snout of bitter steel. Where is this here? Oh, here we go. Okay, cool. Caswell summarizes, because I haven't written it, the letter from Dawn. He says, His Grace and Lord Rivers engaged the Martell forces and banners in a battle north of Godsgrave. Vaith, Cargoyle, and Ulla have all joined and declared for His Grace King Daemon. And with the Tyroshi mercenaries and Jourdain's men, demonstrated their loyalty to His Grace King Daemon valiantly. Marin Martell has been killed in battle. And he's scanning the letter and kind of reads it over again. No man claims to have dealt the killing blow. So the Martell forces have retreated to Sunspear, where his son will likely form a defensive front or perhaps bed down for a siege. But it seems at least that His Grace has some momentum, and the first real battle in Dawn has been a success.
Samuel's smile gets larger and larger and larger the longer the letter goes on. And when success is declared, he slaps, friendly slap, but a strong slap, Harris on the back of the shoulder. And he looks aside to Harris and
he goes for like a kind of hand clasp, and it can be, because you know these moments sometimes are really, it can be as awkward as you like. It's like,
which hand gesture are we using?
Yeah, cool.
He grabs his hand and he pulls him in for a bear hug.
Okay.
Like a strong hug. That's a very like brotherly affection, physically affectionate gesture. And he leaves a hand on his shoulder afterwards, but he turns out to everyone else gathered. And he says, "We've been waiting to hear of the news from Dorne. I will not lie and say that I was not afraid that our efforts in Dorne would fail before we could effectively hold the Reach in the Stormlands. But with this news, we are a stone's throw away from taking 3 kingdoms and pushing this war north directly into the Red Maw of King's Landing."
And Caswell continues, it seems that houses Illyrian, Dolt, Gargalen, declaring themselves true banners to House Martell are on the defensive and are marching back to Sunspear with those forces. It seems that those were the forces they engaged, and so they are on the defensive now. And then from the tent flap, you hear the familiar voice of Sir Aubrey, who then kind of through a moustache he's grown whilst travelling, because I can't remember what he looks like, and I've just decided he has a grey moustache now, says, well, this is all rather a happy event. What news? And
Samuel gestures for Caswell.
Okay, Caswell reads it again, basically. Just goes over it again, just because he gets a little warm, fuzzy feeling from doing the whole thing. And Sir Aubrey is just as pleased, just as happy. Unfortunately, I do not bring such good news from Highgarden. Prince Baelor has marched south, and Highgarden was his intended stop. It seems he has marched south in order to organise the Reach, and he will be very well aware of us. From the little I heard on the road, I would imagine he intends to march this way. But I was successfully able to ransom Lady Lady Tyrell back to Highgarden.
Well, this is not unexpected. We have moved as quickly and acted as decisively as we possibly could to keep as much of this war out of the Reach as we are able. We will turn Ashford to our side as best as we may and march westward, rallying the houses as we go. Lady Myria, Lord Harris, you intend to trap Prince Maekar in Dorne, to capture him?
Harris speaks immediately and says, I intend to march east to Highgarden, to join you, my lord, and take my seat.
Good. You should be part of this story. It will matter to the people in the Reach that you are with us. But Prince Maekar still must be captured. His forces must be stopped. We have allies in House Will that might slow him down. His forces are depleted. He is deep in the mountains in the dead of summer.
And that is why I will be taking a contingent of men south through the Bone Way. And I will capture Prince Maekar.
Lady Myria, I will deliver to you a letter that you might take with you and give to any Dornish houses you might rally along the way to give to Lord Will if they are still in their keep. Perhaps with my support, your force might grow by the time you reach Prince Maekar.
And with the support of the Lord Paramount of the Reach, I am certain that will happen. And she sort of turns to Harris and gives him a little smile. And I think like she stood next to him and she gives his hand like a little cheeky little squeeze, just a little covert squeeze.
And Samuel gives his shoulder a little squeeze too.
You motherfucker,
Opposite
Jonathan,
shoulder.
right?
Faye will clock both of these things.
Yeah, sure. He looks at Miria and he says, "It will." He looks around the tent and he says, "My lords, we have a realm to capture." He didn't speak any other words than that.
Cheer going.
Yeah, Samuel will turn and call for wine.
Nice.
And he's going to look to Faye as people start scrambling about and cheering. He's very interested in how Faye's reacting to all this.
She's just sitting there sipping from her own wineskin, holding his gaze when that cheer goes up for somebody else.
He gives Faye a weak smile and mouths the word without speaking later, whether or not she would be able to tell.
No, I don't think she would. I don't know. Let's find out.
Oh,
What would I
boy.
roll for that? I haven't rolled today. I'm intrigued.
Roll for what?
To see whether I
Lip
get
reading.
what the hell he's going on about or not.
I'm really sorry.
just can't
I
make
missed
the
this
decision.
slightly. So you're trying to figure out what he means, or you're trying to get a
Yeah.
read on him? Like, this is kind of
Oh no,
awareness
just
empathy, I guess.
like literally figuring out what his intention is and what he's actually saying in this big noisy room after a couple of glasses of wine.
Oh, yeah. Awareness notice.
No, he's saying something. I don't care.
Okay.
God. Quick question, V, are you in this tent?
Wrong unmute button. Yeah, Mara's in here. I don't think she says anything because there's no input here that she needs for the cheering. She'll raise a glass when everyone kind of starts celebrating, and she's probably stood next to Samwell, and she's watching around the room at people's reactions. She's probably also interested in how Faye reacts, because obviously she knows fully the situation with Faye being here and the position she currently holds. You know,
I think there's just like a disconnect behind her eyes. Like she's sat in so many of these fucking meetings now, and especially after the last brief conversation with Samuel, she's just checked out.
Yeah. Mara's not gonna like linger on Faye. She's just vaguely interested to see if, like, whether Faye's reaction to the news is like neutral, as it probably has been for a lot of these meetings whenever anything comes in about, you know, where they're going or news about Ashford as they've got here. But she probably turns to Samuel and like her face is probably a bit of a mess. Like Samuel see she's got like a split lip. Clearly she's had a bloodied nose at some point that she's done her best to kind of clean up. But I imagine there's not been a lot of time between the scene in the tent and getting here. So she's still like, there's still blood marks and it's obviously fresh. And it's probably, I imagine that dagger was pretty sharp. There's like a line, those kind of scratch-like lines that you get across her throat. And she's a bit, you know, bruised. And she'll just slip her hand into his briefly. It's like everyone's turning to each other now and there's that kind of conversational cheer, and just squeeze it somewhere between like happy about it, like she's smiling, but also it's Samuel would know it's a kind of like I'm uncomfortable response of like looking for some kind of affection to make her feel better in this awkward moment, because Faye's over there, Miria's here, and she probably doesn't even meet Miria's gaze at all. If she
Miria's not looking at Mara either. It's like
Yeah.
this situation.
She's not doing it in like a spiteful, I'm not looking at you way, but just like she'll look in Miria's direction, but she's not looking at her. Like if she wants to see Miria's reaction, she's using her peripheral vision to see her face. So she finds a really interesting point over Miria's shoulder. But she's like both happy at the news, but also there's a sense of discomfort that Samuel would get from her. Although what it's about, he probably doesn't know. Probably something to do with her face being a bit of a mess, but
like Samuel's not always the quickest on the uptake, but I think he probably can guess here. So like I think he probably when you squeeze his hand, he squeezes your hand back and he puts an arm around you. His eyes kind of go between you and Miria, who's not looking at you, like pointedly not looking at you.
Yeah, aggressively not looking at Mara, just anywhere but Mara.
if Samuel's looking between them, like if she catches him looking over at Miria, she gives him the nod, like, yes, yeah, this is Miria.
He leans close as people are cheering and starting to carouse, just so he can quietly kind of whisper down to you, everything is going to be all right. She'll be on her way soon, and we have the entire world ahead of us.
Like as they're kind of leaned in, she'll not as obviously, but very gently just kind of rest her face against his chest for a second and just kind of nod. And like lets the smile drop now that no one can kind of see, because Samuel's quite large and imposing. And then when she pulls away, she just kind of smiles and nods her head and like very gently like does the thing that you do when you're bruised, where she's like, ow, like because it hurts to hold her face like that.
As you pull away, the atmosphere suddenly takes a dip, and there is another infantryman sergeant outside the door clutching another little letter, and the expression on his face is of kind of that dark wings, dark words, and he says, my Lord Tali.
Come in. Excuse me, Mara. He squeezes her shoulder for a moment and sweeps through the room, recognizing this aura. He wants to make sure he gets to this man before anyone else does.
And he passes you the letter.
He excuses the man to step outside and wait outside, and keeps his body turned so that nobody else is reading over his shoulder, and begins reading the letter.
It has a red wax Targaryen seal. And so if you just crack that open.
Yeah, he'll crack it open.
It's another short letter and a small seal, one enough to be carried by a raven. And it just reads, Sir Samwell, we are besieging Hornhill, and on its surrender, I will take your father captive. I'll spare your house if you surrender. They are calling you the Butcher. I hope we can find mercy instead. His Grace, Baelor Targaryen.
Samwell's thumb presses down so hard on the parchment that it rips through the word father, where it's scrawled, leaving a hole behind. He swallows, and he looks around to the other people who are drinking and speaking amongst themselves.
Half of them looking at you to see what the news is.
Mara would make her way over. Like if she hears that kind of paper rip and sees that tension, just keeps her gaze at him and just moves past Harris, past Miria, and just goes to take the letter from him as she's looking at him, as everyone's looking, because she wants to see what this is now that he's got this look on his face.
He folds up the letter, maybe twice more than he really needs to. And he takes in a deep inhalation and smiles, a tight smile, and says, Prince Baelor, is not marching west towards us. He is marching south towards Horn Hill to besiege it. He has made a grave mistake, and we will act on the morrow. Tonight, we drink. So more wine, please.
There's like deathly silence from all of the other lords and ladies here in the tent. And there's a kind of awkward cough, because there always is. And then more wine is poured by servants. But the feeling in the tent certainly sours. That, I think, is where we might wrap up for tonight. That little bombshell. Just letting you in on all my the house actions the NPCs took. Though, we still haven't heard about Maekar yet. So, no.
Oh,
Nope. Alright.
no.
What a juicy episode. That was just... Oh. Oh. Are we all okay?
Yeah,
Yeah. Good.
I think so.
Who knows anymore with this
Just
game?
disassociated for 2 hours.
We're 6
we okay?
seasons in and
Yeah.
still not okay.
Yeah.
But we're all okay with not being okay.
Yeah.
I think if
Yeah.
we were okay, there'd be a problem with this game. Because I don't
Yeah,
think any of
fair
us have been
enough.
okay since season 1.
Yeah, that's fair. That is true. That's true. All right. Well, let's do our usual where we can find you and stuff like that, and check in. I guess for one half of a scene that I would legit give a fucking Oscar for. How are you doing, Susie?
Thank you. First of all, I would like to thank my mum and Seven for being with me in that tent in that moment.
Leave
It was
space
truly
for them.
fuck the Seven.
Okay.
But no, I'm good. That scene was a long time coming, and I'm actually kind of glad we didn't play last week, because like some of the shit Mary came out with that had been percolating over the past 2 weeks. So I'm glad I had that extra
Yeah.
prep time. I wasn't expecting her to be so upset by the end. When she was telling Mara that was it, she was done. She couldn't bear it anymore
Yeah,
to
it
be
was
her sister.
heart-wrenching.
That was like,
Mm.
that got me. I almost cried a little bit, me personally, then. But oh man, thank you, V, for being such an incredible scene partner. I love you, even though I yelled at you for like an hour.
I love you too. It's okay. It happens. It's Game of Thrones.
I
Game of Thrones.
thought you guys were gonna be fucking dramatic bitches. I thought you were gonna kill her.
I very much thought about it. I did very, very much think about it.
We had a whole
but-
conversation like last week of like, what would happen? Like, would Mara come after her if this happened? Like, we had a whole like what if conversation. So,
I legit was like panicking because I was like, she's just got a dagger to her throat. What do I get them to do? What do I get them to roll? I guess she just dies. I don't fucking know. Ugh.
No, I did very much think about it, but then Miria has very much convinced herself that she's better than Mara. And if she was ever going to kill Mara, then Mara would be on her feet. She would be facing her with a weapon in her hand so she could defend herself. You know what I mean? Like she would let her die with some honor rather than, sticking her in the heart and tipping her off the top of a castle or something like that, So yeah, that was a whole thing. And then I'm finally glad that Millie and I got to have even a tiny scene together. Just even a tiny one.
Yeah.
There's a lot more that we need to chat about though. So if you can get me in on that sneaky. Yeah. And then I need to talk to Harris because
Oh yeah.
I think there's okay. If you want time with my NPCs, we can make time to be with my NPCs. That's fine. I think even if and we Don and I need to chat about what his intent is for his army and where you're all going next and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like, you know, packing up is a time too. So, you know, if you're just dismantling a siege, then, you know, off you pop. It's not quite as simple as just clicking a button in Bannerlord. You know, so there's definitely time to chat. So I think, although it completely changed my plans, I had maybe a plan for like a parlay or something that could have been fun. But if you're just leaving, fine.
I don't think that's not Samuel's intention, is to turn Ashford if he can.
Nice.
Take it.
We could intrigue parlay. That would be cool. I like a little intrigue scene. I love those. Yeah, totally. Nice one.
Cool. All right. So yeah, I need to anyway, a whole laundry list of shit I need to do now, apparently. I was just gonna go kill a prince, but fucking
you'll just message me. You know what I really thought I was like, where am I gonna insert this? How the fuck am I gonna do it? And then I just thought, you know, my inner George, I just thought, you know, sometimes that just happens. Sometimes you just hear about it and it's over there and it happened. But we all know, don't we?
We all know.
Because no man claimed the kill.
Man, the second you like no man claimed it, I was like, oh no. Which means fuck. It's coming home to roost very soon for probably Miria at some point, maybe. I don't know. Anyway, that's future Miria's problem, not current Miria's problem. I gave him a name.
Yep. Took him 5 years.
You gave him
And it took him a long time to get there. But you gave him a promise too. You gave him a promise that he would come back to you afterwards and you would have to do something.
Yep. Because we couldn't quite square away the in-front detail. Don't ever take a deal like that, by the way, friends. Get it all laid out first. Don't have a nebulous sort of payment. But yeah, anyway.
To have a double chat. That's going in the book.
No, Sam, forget about it. You forgot about it. It's fine.
I had. And then you opened your gob.
I did, as ever, because this is how the campaign has gone for me. I've gone, oh, what if? And then Sam's gone, and then made my life miserable.
Literally, yeah.
So
cool.
Yeah. Anyway, before I fill up after the fire's worth of chat here, I am Susie. Hello. I'm otherwise known as Susanna Grace across the internet. You can see my name written down here, and it's got one N in it. So you put that in right there on Twitch, on Twitter,
just click it.
YouTube. You can't.
The internet's magic.
It's not how that works. It would just pause the video if you're watching this on VOD. Don't do that. Don't listen to old man Sam.
It's right there in chat.
No, I'm talking about YouTube, Sam. Go on.
Oh, hi YouTube.
Anyway.
Carry on.
I stream and stuff. I play video games and do art streams sometimes. So that's where you can find me. And then if I'm not doing that, I'm on Twitter and I'm screaming about big, tall, dummy mommies and vampires and art stuff and video games. That's me.
Nice. Thanks very much. Hi, Millie. I'm sorry we didn't have much time with you today.
That's all right.
I appreciate your message, though.
Yeah. Well, I kind of feel like you have to in that situation when a scene is just so fucking good and it has been going so long in the making. Like, there's no point in being a dick about it. It's not the Look at Me show. It's the After the Fire show. And I want to see After the Fire. I don't care if I'm in it or not. I mean, I do, but that's not the point.
No, I get you.
Yeah, no, that was absolutely awesome. And Sam, Sassy Lord Leo is fucking excellent. He's everything I wanted him to be.
I very much enjoyed that, actually, because that was like putting yourself into an NPC's perspective was like, that's the shit I'm for.
Yeah, he was great.
Yeah.
So yes, more of that. Okay. So happy that Susie and I finally got a scene together, and I'm very excited to see where that goes. Mildly concerned about Samuel Tarly's plans to apparently wrestle and fuck his way through the Reach. Oh, Sam's up for it, so there we go.
Hot NPC action.
Yeah, a little concerning. Those alliances don't last.
Fuckboy alliances. No.
Fuckboy alliances do not last.
T-shirt number 3.
Yeah.
Oh my god. All right.
And I love that nobody seems to have actually like met this king.
I love it
too. Hilarious.
Yeah.
It's like He's clearly just awful or an imbecile. Just what's the point in him? Or any of them at this point. I like that Faye's got messy and a bit annoyed and just can't be asked anymore. If nobody stops her, she's going full on don't give a fuck. And that could be messy too. So let's find out. But in the meantime, just find me on Twitter. I'm there. I haven't posted much recently because it's December, the month where, as I said, every audio company realizes it's December. And the magical mysteries of not being planned unfold and eat my life. But yeah, Mondays I'm over on The Wandering Inn doing a sort of sci-fi cowboy beboppy Firefly type thing, which is really fun at the moment. It's getting deep and dark and juicy.
Nice.
I think that's about all I'm doing at the moment.
Yeah.
So that and here.
Nice. Thanks so much.
That's what.
Let's go around to V.
This was so much fun.
Thank
feel
you
like-
for being an awesome scene partner as well.
Yeah, that whole conversation with Leo was interesting. I didn't know where it was going to go, and I don't think Mara did either. She was just like, I want to put this to him and see what his reality. If it will make him change his mind, great. But she also just wants to see his reaction, and I think there's a little bit of her that oddly respects him a bit more, because she still thinks he's being an idiot, but she's like, do you know what? At least you really do believe this. Like, in your heart of hearts, you're a fool, but you do.
That's what I
And
love
that-
about the game that we've got, is that it's not just like, oh, they're good and they're evil, or like, oh, they're two-dimensional and they're the bad guy. It's like, you could put yourself in any of these characters' kind of shoes, and you could be like, oh yeah, okay, I see it from their point of view.
We're all pretty terrible, so
Oh yeah.
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 But I think there's a bit at the end, because he does the whole thing where he eyes the sword and she notices. And so at the end she picks it up with no intention of harming him. That's not what she was there to do. But it was like her version of that as he's looking at it. Because in her mind, she's like, he's doing that to see if it makes her uncomfortable, and it doesn't. So she does it at the end to see if it makes him uncomfortable, and she oddly respects him in that moment where he's like just about to maybe brace himself. She's like, okay, you're maybe not as weak as you make out sometimes. She still thinks he's an idiot though, but
He's just,
and-
I've got his personality type written down in the way the game mechanics work, where you've got what their goal is, what their motivation is, all of that stuff. I've got that there. And I think you've kind of got him figured out a little bit. But yeah, if you guys like really honed in on what these characters like wanted, then I think you could be
She's-
some really powerful, intriguey
that was part
type
of it as well, as
people.
her poking of like, are you really loyal to them, or is this kind of a pride thing? Because that's what she's grown up hearing, that he is prideful, he likes looking good, and she kind of gets a bit of that with like, well, what's my place then? If I do this, where do I end up? And she's like, okay, so this isn't just you love the king, this is, what about me? Which, you know, but also, Susie, I love you, and I love it when we scream at each other. That was so much fun. We've been waiting Susie and I have been talking for a long time about that scene. I think it was great.
Exceptional.
It's fun for me because it's the first time that Mara, like Miria is the person that makes Mara confront her guilt. Because she can talk about it to Samwell, but Samwell can reason it for her, right? Because we're doing this for the Reach and the Realm and blah, blah, blah. But like Miria is the person that Mara can't lie to herself about regretting some of the things that she's done. And Mara knows that she does. And like, it's painful for her to admit that to Miria, because Miria ends up indirectly a lot of the time, you know, not through Mara's intentions, but being the person that gets hurt by things.
That's that thing, right? Intent doesn't matter when you've hurt people, and Miria can't see Mara's intent because all she's got is Mara's pain, like that she's caused her. Doesn't
like,
matter if Mara intended it was something good.
But I think it was kind of fun to see Miria both angry at Mara for being sorry, but also that kind of weird like, oh, but you are though, like especially towards the end. And I feel that's a lot of it of like, I really want to forgive you because you are sorry, but you're also fucking awful. So that was fun.
But I liked the kind of, the like the point scoring that you were talking about in the scene, because actually I was then running through my head like what's happened to Mara, because we know quite clearly what's happened to Miria, that she was abducted and all this stuff, but like Mara has had a fucking bum deal too. The beginning of the campaign, her dad didn't show up to her wedding, which however way you put that is emotionally distressing. Then her husband is a fucking idiot and murders the sworn sword of her old house.
Her sister goes missing, which
Her sister goes
Mara
missing.
started trying to
Of course.
bring up to the Targs, and Marcia told her, please stop, you'll make it worse. So she does. So there's a bit of her that's like, the one time I actually did what I was told, and look how this ended up. She
gets like killed and like butchered. Just almost killed, and we got the
loses her
destiny point
child.
spend. She lost her child
at the hand of a woman that she called mother. Like that whole 5-year gap as well. There was a lot of stuff that went on with her mentally throughout that like wrecked her at the beginning of it, and it's why she's so loyal to Samwell, because he was the one that brought her out of it. Like,
yeah,
she's had some real.
There's a lot going on with these characters, and again, that's what I love about it.
But I love that her and Miria, they can't see each other's shoes. And they probably could if they could sit down for long enough to talk about it. But they can't, because they're just at each other's throats immediately before either of them can explain. Like, it's great. It's the worst kind of misunderstanding where like maybe this could be less bad, but neither of them can get to the point of making it less bad.
Yeah. And Lorelai's make a good point too. She didn't know about Alistair's intentions either at all. So she was in the dark there. So she was lied to as well.
3 days it took for Alistair to tell her what had happened.
Yeah.
And like by that point, she's like, well, I'm here. I now have to protect my husband because that's what's the done thing, right? She was doing what she had always been taught to do.
Yeah.
And then like that wrecks her in that 5-year gap period that we have in the time skip, because that's like now she's alone and she's like, oh, that was the worst thing I could have done. And like hates his guts because of it. But like at this point, the narrative is that Mara knew, even though she didn't, and no one will believe her otherwise. So
fair.
my poor girl.
I know.
She's terrible sometimes though.
Yeah, I know. You're all garbage. When you're not being garbage, what are you doing?
I'm over on Twitter at Tabletop Horde and Twitch. I haven't been streaming as much recently because I've been doing all of the work stuff. But you can find me over there. My life right now is waiting for projects to start, finishing projects that I've already started on, and spending too much time reading into 2nd edition Ravenloft.
We talked long about that this afternoon, Oh, nice stuff. Good stuff. And tangentially, another fan of Ravenloft, I guess, Mr. Jonathan Fry. Hello. You okay?
Hello. What?
Are you okay?
Yeah. No, I love this session.
I'm gonna take your house.
There's bigger and better castles out there.
Oh,
This
yeah,
is a
no,
small
there is.
castle.
But I like that you're taking the bait. It's good.
Yeah. I have to think about it a little bit, but I'm excited to see how all that plays out. I had a lot of fun. I enjoyed watching the really juicy scenes this week. I enjoyed getting to interact Samwell with Harris. I thought was a lot of fun. And I've got some plans for the next session for things that I'm interested in doing.
Cool.
But yeah, I had a great time. I always do. I loved it.
Yeah. Thanks so much. Cool. All right then. And where can we find you?
Oh, you can find me on Twitter at Jonathan Fry. I write games and run games. I'm working on a couple of big books right now. I run, 5 or 6 games a week. And if you are interested in finding out more, just look me up on Twitter, click on my Patreon. There's a link right there at the top of my bio and see a little bit more of what I do. But other than that, I'm just looking forward to seeing how all this plays out next week. More juice. I am ready for it.
Yay. Thank you so much. We are streaming this Game of Thrones campaign every single Thursday, 2 p.m. Eastern. That is 7 p.m. UK time. When we're not doing that, we are streaming a campaign of the Spy game, which is a game that we designed and published and put out into the world. So if the idea of 5e powered spy escapades interests you, then check us out on the Wednesday at the same time when we play our campaign of surveillance capitalism, Hex Crawl. and you can grab the book or check it out. So you can buy the book at blackcatsgamingshop.com. You can also check it out for free. There's a quick start available on DriveThruRPG and on our own site as well. And you can also buy the book and its accessories from local gaming stores as well as Metaphys.net as well. So yeah, thanks so much, everybody. Somebody vibe while I check for a raid.
Feel better soon, Tom. How about that?
Thank you, Tom. You're still with us still. I've seen you in chat. Thank you for sticking with us, friend. It's actually low key good because I was like, oh shit, I meant to be doing that search, right? And now I need to. I was prepping in my head, but I now need to actually. I'll write that down. And we'll catch up with Enzo next time. But there was a bit too much juice.
Want to state here for Twitch and YouTube that can't see the green room chat, but currently Virginia is trying to egg Dawn on into stealing Harris, which would be yet another fucking way that Mara destroyed Maria's happiness. Like literally, V, they've like banged once. Please just like give them another one. Like get at least 2 in the bag.
I'm not the one potentially seducing Harris. Mara's just okay with this.
You're monsters.
Faye is watching from the sideline, real fucked off about every decision leading to this.
All right.
Oh, Millie, we're gonna fucking talk about this. We're gonna talk about
kids. All right. We are gonna go and see Prax. They are playing some Dragon Age, but I think they gave us a raid yesterday, or at least something. I saw something happen. So please go and show them some love. Shout juicy fruits at them, as is the tradition, and see what they're up to. Hopefully something juicy in Dragon Age. There's all sorts of cool interpersonal politics there as well. So yeah. If we don't see you Wednesday, then we'll see you back here again next Thursday, I think. Though I'm going to chat to the cast about what we're going to do in December, because obviously it's holiday season, so let's figure something out as well. I've got a little idea about something else as well. I'm going to just throw you away. But yeah, if I don't shut up, the raid's just going to go. So let's go over to Prax. We'll see you all next week. Take care, folks.